Welcome to Just One Thing for Parents. I'm Bettina Honan. Today I was joined by a wonderful human being, Jenny Peters. Jenny runs a charity called Connected Lives, where they run a lot of parenting courses. She's worked for many years with parents, with couples, and she's finishing her training as a family therapist. And we've been working together along with Claire Gates on a course called Connected Teens, which is for parents of teenagers, helping parents of teenagers to really understand what's going on for them in their brains, in their development, and how we can change or how we need to change as parents for teenagers. But today, the thing that she chose to focus on was this question: how do we become unstuck as parents? And she talks about how every parent at some point will become a bit stuck and they don't know what to do. The resources that they usually use, the strategies and things that usually work are not working. And that's often when they'll reach out to somebody like us for help. And she's got some great ideas, and we have a really in-depth discussion about what can really help, like a little template, basically, a kind of template to follow when you get to these moments of being stuck. So please have a listen. I think it's a great episode, helpful for families of kids of all ages. Every parent gets stuck at some point. So even if that's not you right now, it might be at some point. So please have a listen to my interview with Jenny Peters.
Good.
So hello, Jenny. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great.
The question for you is, how do we become unstuck as parents? And maybe you could just start by saying a little about why you thought that was an important question.
Yeah. So I think because in my work, so I have two kind of hats. I work in a charity. I'm also training to be a family therapist. And so I've been thinking a lot about when families kind of come for help and what happens to us. And just that thing of, we're changing all the time as parents, aren't we? We start off with this tiny little baby, and then they become this toddler, and then they go through all these different developmental stages, and they hit the teenage years. And so we're having to adjust all the time. And mostly we can kind of do that. And then we often hit sort of mini roadblocks, and we think, okay, well, I'm going to go and talk to this person or think about it maybe differently like this. But sometimes we get really stuck, and all the things that we normally use, all the wisdom that we normally have, or all the ways that we normally deal with it just aren't working. Yeah. And I think that's often when parents kind of come and try and get help and say, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
And we can get panicked, I think, can't we?
Yeah. And I think it's probably fair to say that happens to everybody at some point, doesn't it? We have this idea that everybody else is doing it well and everyone else knows what they're doing. But there will be a point for all of us when the Instagram, feed, the Instagram reels that were really helping in the books that we read, or the strategies that we were taught, or even the things that our parents did were no longer helping. Yeah. Absolutely. So what would be your advice?
Well, I would say that when we've kind of tried and it doesn't feel like it's working, I think it's so easy to get pulled into blame. Yeah. So we can kind of think, well, either, oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? I'm a terrible parent. I clearly can't do this, or we blame our child, my other kids are okay, or everyone else at school is okay, or as you say, everyone on social media has nice times with their kids. What is wrong with this child? And if we start locating the blame just in either ourselves or them, or even maybe wider situations, it just doesn't get us anywhere. It's almost like we sort of go around in circles.
Yeah.
And I think but it's so tempting to do that because we're really wrestling with it and we're panicking. And I think when we panic, we often go to blame.
Yeah. So instead of understanding, the opposite of blame is let's really understand, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Because, so we have to be able to take it kind of a step back and kind of think what's happening here. And we have this in what we do with the Connected Teens program, which obviously you and I do start. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. You can take that a bit out.
Yeah. No. I think we can absolutely say that. Yeah, so maybe you could even just say a little bit about what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So go for it.
So just thinking about how we get unstuck. Bettina and I and our friend Claire have been writing this Connected Teens program, working with parents of teens, and just really trying to help slow things down. Think about, how we reconnect with our teens when we're finding it difficult. And we came up with this idea of the 3 C's, which is curiosity, compassion, and courage, and we kind of really like them. And I actually find out myself using it quite a lot in other work that I'm doing with families. So curiosity is about just asking the question, what's going on? What is going on for them? What is their behavior telling me? And we have this idea that behavior is communication. So what is my child telling me at this moment? How are they behaving, and what's happening for them? And also, what's happening for me in this moment? Maybe why is this particularly difficult, or why is this particularly hard? And then we bring in, so we have that curiosity. Now, I think curiosity is the place we have to start, don't we? Because otherwise, we're just going to get,
Yeah.
sucked into finger pointing.
Yeah. And that's when and that's where, if you do that, you can't get into blame.
Yeah.
And that there isn't, it isn't about I did something wrong, they did something wrong. There is something wrong with me, there is something wrong with them, which is the other thing we can get into. I heard somebody saying once, with the curiosity, when you're really trying to listen to somebody, do it like you were writing an article for a newspaper, like really, really being curious and asking them questions and trying to get into the detail with no agenda yourself. And that's hard as a parent, isn't it?
Which is really hard as a parent, because of course we have agendas and we have feelings and we have emotions and we have all of it. And then the compassion bit, I think, is then kind of probably helps us stay curious, maybe, in the sense of we're thinking this is actually hard for them. They're not necessarily doing this to be a pain in the neck for me or to be really difficult. This is something which is hard for them. This is something that they are struggling with. And when we're thinking about toddlers or we're thinking about teens, we often think about helping them with their emotions. They actually need us to help them make sense of their emotions, and we need to be there for them in order to be able to do that. But also compassion for ourselves, because we've all got a story about being parented, being in relationships, what emotions look like and feel like. And we do kind of know that if in our own childhoods, if our parents maybe struggled with certain emotions and struggled maybe to help us with those emotions, that we can carry that into when we parent. And so when our child feels sad, say, we can kind of go, oh, I don't like sad. Sad feels bad. And we'll try and maybe push them to feel different, which doesn't kind of help them. Yeah. And I definitely know that with sadness, I, really had to relearn how to do that. With sad children, sadness is not a terrible thing. It's just a human emotion. But for me, it was like a really panicky thing. Yeah. And so sort of having that self-compassion, I think, is really important, isn't it?
Yeah. And when their emotion frightens us, then we instantly get into fixing or protecting, or this can't happen, because we react as if that's a dangerous thing. Their sadness is danger. Yeah. Or, conflict was a big one for me. So conflict is very dangerous. So when your child then brings you anger, you panic, and that stops you from being able to help them to work out what's going on, or them to process it. Yeah.
And when it's that panic feeling, isn't it? And people have lots of different language for it. We might think of it, as one of the raw spots, or we might think of it as, getting triggered, or lots of different language. But it's when we get into panic, then we lose the capacity for thought through thought. In fact, we're just kind of reacting. Yes. And those are when we have the worst arguments with a partner, with a teenager, with anyone, actually, because we're not being able to sort of take a position back. We're kind of fighting because we're scared.
Yeah, absolutely.
What our system is sort of propelling us to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's sort of giving ourselves permission, isn't it, to say, you know what, I do find this difficult. That's okay. That's doesn't make me a terrible person. It just means in this particular area, I'm finding this a little bit hard right now. And I'm going to be kind to myself, and I'm going to be kind to my kid. And
I sometimes, sorry, go on. Yeah.
No, go.
I was going to say that sometimes in those moments, I give myself a little mantra, and I also try to breathe. Those are the two things that help me. And it might be just like she or he is just feeling sad. It's just a feeling. They can get through this. I love that phrase, we can do hard things. I will even say that to my kids on text sometimes. I'll say, you can do hard things. And their breathing is very helpful for me. And that basically enables me to calm my system so that I can then really be there for what they need. It's not easy.
So do you mean slowing down your breathing? So tell me, I mean, I think I know what you mean, but it'd be really helpful maybe to say, what do you do? How do you change your breathing?
Yeah. So what we know about breathing is that your lungs are very connected to your brain. So if we're breathing in more than we're breathing out, then we increase our kind of system, our energy. And if we exhale more than we inhale, we tell our brain basically things are okay. Because when we panic, we tend to breathe more and kind of hyperventilate. So what I do is I try to breathe in for 4 and out for 6. And if you just do that for a minute, not even a minute, it's a very quick way to calm your system down, and you'll find that your brain gets the message quicker than any other thought could do, that it's okay, this is safe. Yeah.
It's so clever, isn't it? And it's so, the thing about breathing is it's available. You know, there might be other things like put on calming music or, you know, be able to go for a walk, but you can always breathe.
Yeah,
wherever you are in the middle of a situation, and you can go, you know what, something needs to change here.
Yeah.
And the only thing I've got power over is me. I can't necessarily leave this child screaming on the floor in the supermarket. I can't. Right now, I can't. I can change me.
Yeah.
And I can slow my system down. And I wish I'd known about breathing earlier, I have to say. I think
me too. Me too. A parent actually said to me the other day, they said, yeah, but what do you do in a situation where you're out and where people are watching you and, you know, your child's having a tantrum and you're saying, you know, you just have to kind of be with them in their emotion. And I said, well, the first thing you have to do is turn off your social antennae. Do not worry about what other people think about what you're doing and what your child, that's their judgment. You are not a bad parent. You're helping your child. And he's like, oh, okay. So that's the other thing. You've just got to turn that off and say, I know what I'm doing here. And people might be looking at me and judging me and saying, oh, why is your child this? Why is your child that? That's okay. You just stick with what you're doing. You stick with your job, because that's really going to work in the long term.
Yeah. And you're never often going to see these people again.
No.
It's so funny how you get really taken out by someone in Sainsbury's or whatever. You're never going to see that person again. You're going to see your kid again and again and again.
Exactly.
So taken out by this idea. Oh my God, I know they're judging me. I know they're judging me. It's so funny, isn't it? I have to tell myself that sometimes. They're not even you.
No, exactly.
And when we're being, you know, and it's classic, isn't it? A tantrum or something in public is often because also we are actually responding differently. So we might also be responding differently to how. So why would they always do it in public? Partly because of how we're then responding and shifting. And I guess that's the thing about choice, isn't it? We need to understand that we have a choice in how we respond. And that's incredibly important, because you can't necessarily change your child in that moment, but you can change how you respond. And so I don't think we've gone through all the 3 C's, have we? We haven't got to courage, but for me, those are the things that help me get choice.
Yeah, I love that idea of choice. And actually, even if we do a little thing now, we can't change everything about our child, you know, or even about our relationship. But is that what you're saying? You have a choice and that will make a difference?
Yeah. I have a mobile, like one of these kind of, you know, baby mobiles, but I have it of a family. And it's like you can't move one of them without all of the others being affected. And in a way that, to me, it just talks about that's what relationships are like. So at the moment, I can't necessarily change this, but I can change me, and that will change them, because our relationship is the thing that's then, you know, how we connect and how I'm responding makes them respond differently, or helps them maybe to respond differently.
Amazing.
And I think that's probably really true of all relationships, actually.
It is. It is. Absolutely. Okay. So for the 3 C's, we've got curiosity we went through. We've had compassion, and then the third one. Yeah.
And the third
Courage.
one is courage. So we have to be courageous. We have to remember that we are the bigger people, that
Mm,
we are the parents. Even if we have a teenager who's towering over us, you're still the adult.
mm,
And that we have to be courageous. And sometimes that means we hold boundaries when they are yelling at us and saying, you're a terrible person and I hate you and whatever. And sometimes it means that we go back to difficult conversations
mm.
and say, you know what, that just went badly, didn't it? Can we go back? I'm sorry for maybe what I did. I realized that I wasn't in a good place, but also there's this issue that we need to talk about. Can we
Mm,
have a conversation about it that isn't blaming, that
mm,
isn't trying to shame them, but really helps them tease out? Obviously, I guess I'm thinking more of teens at the moment. You know, what went on for them? What went on for us? What was the choice? Could we have had that conversation differently?
yeah,
When we hit this, when we're having this difficult thing, we're having a conflict, are there ways that we could have done it that would have actually gone better? And
yeah.
what can we both learn? Because,
Mm,
the more we actually relate to people, I think that this was in couples work all the time, that actually, you can just learn so much more about yourself and your partner if you have particular kinds of conversations,
yeah, yeah,
which are curious, actually,
yeah,
and compassionate and courageous. And then you kind of go, wow, I really get you better.
yeah.
I mean, I've been married 33 years, and it's like
Wow.
sometimes you're like, really? I had no idea. It makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it does take a lot of courage. I think it takes a lot of courage with parents of teenagers to hold boundaries sometimes because they have huge emotions. They can be absolutely relentless. They can use a lot of their, intelligence to kind of tell you you're the worst parent or everyone else is doing this or, that kind of thing. But I think there's courage, as you say, to come back and say, we have to talk about this. And, when things went wrong, we need to
Yeah.
talk about what happened. And a lot of kids will shut their parents down. They'll shut them down by going, no, 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 or they change the subject, or they even say, oh yeah, no, I'm really sorry, gosh, yeah. Or I'm not. Maybe they'll just get angry again and say I'm not. But that is one of the important things, isn't it? Particularly with teenagers.
Yeah. And if we can do it well, I wonder if they're less likely to shut. Because if they know this conversation is, I'm about to tell you off again, then
Yes.
who wants that kind of conversation? None of us
Yes.
do. If it's a conversation that we can get through and they kind of go,
Yeah.
actually didn't want to have it, but you know what? That helps me understand. I mean, they're probably not going to use this language, but
Yeah.
oh, I actually feel a bit better now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel more connected.
Yeah.
Then inviting them into that conversation the next time and the next time and the next time. I say this hypocritically because, I wasn't very good at doing this
Mm,
as a parent of teens. Just to
mm,
be completely honest here,
mm.
I didn't find it easy. I didn't find the big emotional displays easy. So I just think, oh, well, they probably, let's just let it lie. And I
Yes.
don't think that helps. I
No.
just don't think that teaches them to have those conversations, which are so important, because we're going to fall out with people, we're going to find things difficult, and that's being a human being.
Yeah.
And if we can train them to think, what's me? What's you? How do we do this? Is there a choice in how we do this?
Yeah.
Then actually it's incredibly helpful for the rest of their life, really.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone finds it easy. I didn't either. One of the tips that I sometimes say to parents is how you start it. The first sentence is going to be crucially important. If you start with, we need to talk about how rude you were to your mother last night, you're in trouble. As you say, they're just going to feel like they're going to be told off again. If we connect with, like, go back to the compassion, if we connect with where they were to begin with and say, I could see you were really upset last night, then you've got a much better chance of them and allowing them to have that and go, yeah, mum did this or dad did that. And that was really, and you're actually compassionate and go, I can see that that was really important to you. And I can see that that was really hard. When you connect then and then you move on to how could we do that differently next time? And you've got a rational brain that you're talking to and you're much more likely to have some success.
Yeah, and they're more likely to then offer you something, aren't they? Well,
Yeah.
okay, I realize, you know what? I realize I did just flout a boundary, or I did just do
Yeah.
this. That
Yeah.
their defenses are then down, and they're able to have a different
Yes.
conversation. And
Yeah.
then you find that they are actually more reasonable than when we're kind of clashing with them all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
All
definitely.
of us, we're someone's attacking us, we're gonna kind of respond, aren't we?
Yeah. Jenny, that's so helpful. So when parents are stuck, just a little summary. I think it's quite helpful for people just to do a little summary, to become unstuck as a parent. Your just one thing tip would be
If I am allowed to have three in one, I would say hold on to the crises. Am I allowed that? Be curious, be compassionate, and have courage.
Wonderful. Ah, thank you so much for your time today, Jenny. That was such a great podcast. Thanks.